Welcome back to this video. In this video I wanted to just talk to you about swatching. Now swatching is obviously quite a good pastime for anybody who does painting, especially it seems if you do watercolour. So what do? We get a new watercolour pan set or tubes or whatever it is. This is a Cotman set, my very first set that I got with watercolour. And I did what everybody else does. Swatch your colours out, little nice squares. So you can get an idea what the colours are compared with perhaps what the tube looks like or what it looks like in the pan itself, but what do you actually learn out of that? So I mean, if you wanted to paint a scene, do you just look for maybe for complements like the rose and the cad yellow medium maybe? What is the benefit of it? I don't think there's much benefit to it at all, if I'm honest. This one was the better set from Major Brushes, and this one was, what was this one? This one was Crelando. That was from Lidl's, I think. So again, you do the swatches and see, you know, how much they perhaps cover, and like the cheaper set from Major Brushes was that one, and that you can see the quality of that is nowhere near as good as their better set. But that was a painting I did with it, so although they don't look particularly good, you can still do a painting with them. So you can do a painting with anything, let's be fair. So what I did was, and what I do when I get new colours now, I do one scene just in that one colour. So this was, and it's the same scene on all of my colours that I get. But what I do get out of it, I get a lot more realisation what the colour's going to give me. So it starts off with the sky, like everything else. And each one, what I tend to do with these, I will do probably at least 3, but quite often 6 in one go. So what I'll do the sky, like a weak watery version of the sky, and I'll just get, there'll be, you know, a little bit of Winsor blue, burnt umber, and I'll just do the sky in that, sky in that, sky in that, and then I will then take a little bit of the sky out with just usually a brush. I don't usually use paper towels, but it will just be with the brush, take a bit out. Then I'll get the hairdryer out and dry that off. Then I'll do the mountains or the 3 hills, whatever they are, just in one go. But what is good about this is that you can see when you finished it all at the end which one you can lift out better than others. So like this yellow one, and it doesn't really matter how thick or thin you have this, it virtually comes out the same. It's either non-existent or it's pretty much the same. Doesn't really matter how thin or thick you have it. So anyway, so after the sky, dry it off, put the mountains in one continual bit here. You will notice that as I do these, as I go through these, it probably gets, although it's virtually the same scene, there are a couple of other bits seem to get added in as I do it a bit more often, which would be typical. So like the bottom foreground here, when I very first started, was a little tiny bit, and you'll notice later on there becomes a few little bits of flowery stuff and whatever, so it's a bit more, but that comes with, like with anything else, it's just a bit of practice. Here I went a bit too berserk with all the mountains and there, but I prefer this when it's just 3. So anyway, in general, it's just like one swoop, or this will just be one. I'll dry that on all 6 of them or 3 of them, what I'm doing. Then I'll do the front 2, and again dry that. And I don't thicken the paint or anything, it's just by having another layer on it. And then I'll do one more layer at the front. So this is, so you can tell by, like this is obviously the furthest one back. This is when they both had 2 and then this would have been the third bit. And some colours you get a better variation of the layering than others as well. So after the mountainy bits here, I'll then do a bit thicker paint and do this like foreground and leave some gaps in to replicate some sort of middle distance ground, if you like. And then I'll come in with some thicker stuff down the bottom, a lot thicker stuff down here, which would be, say, a tree line on the other side. Then once I've dried that again, I will then do a really watery version with the light colour, and then I will put in this quite deep, no, I'm lying, I do the bushes or tree line here and this little bit here, which I don't think I did to start with. I'm pretty sure I didn't do that initially. See, like on here I didn't do it, and there and there, so I didn't do it initially, but that's something I added in afterwards. And then I finished off with this flicking of the brush, and all of that was done in just a 3/4 inch brush, nothing else, just used a 3/4 inch brush. And then when that was finished, I just got a little rigger out and just did 3 birds on each one. I might have even put the birds in when I was doing this thicker paint, maybe, I can't really remember, but anyway, I put 3 birds in each one as well. And then when it's dried, I then lift out a little triangle for the boat, and I just put a little bit of the same colour in, whatever I've got left on the palette. It will just be a little tick on the bottom to replicate a boat. And you can see here with the CAD yellow medium, it's nothing lifted out on that. There was just nothing there to lift out. But obviously you want to choose somewhere quite dark in the background, which is why I put these tree line in the first place. And then you can see what paint actually lifts out well and what doesn't. So you might want to think about that when you're doing a scene of some sort. If you do want to put a couple of boats in there, then what colour does lift out? So obviously I would avoid that. Not that you're going to really have that colour anyway, but see, even Payne's Grey didn't lift out that great, which I was surprised with. But some of them, see, like CAD Yellow light there, lifted out much better than CAD Yellow medium. So if I was doing, for whatever reason, a yellow in that area and I was going to lift it out, not necessarily for a boat but for anything, then I wouldn't choose CAD Yellow medium, I would choose CAD Yellow light. But anyway, you know, you can get some variations of skies. I mean, that looks quite, Indian red looks quite a natural dusky sort of night to me, so I was quite impressed with how a lot of these came out. And, but anyway, that to me gives me a better idea. Like with this chrome oxide green, that's a far more natural landscapey looking green just on its own without doing anything than what Hooker's green is, for sure. And then I can see the difference in the blue. So if I'm looking at a blue and wanting to do whatever the subject is, obviously you can, variations of red here, but so like the blues, I can look at the ultramarine and the Winsor blue and the cobalt blue, and I'll sort of get an idea of what the difference is. I mean, this is quite vivid, this bit down the bottom where it's quite neat, it's quite a vivid bright blue, whereas the Winsor blue is actually quite a dull blue. And the cobalt is similar to the ultramarine, but ultramarine to me looks like it's got a bit more punch. Anyway, that's how I do my swatches, rather than what I showed you before, the little squares. And I think you get a better idea of, you know, when you layer it, what colour it's going to look like after a couple of coats, or a couple of layers rather than just one, or if it's a bit thicker, that sort of thing. And I think it's just, I think it works out. I think it's just a better way of doing swatches than just doing little squares which are quite meaningless. Anyway, hope that's useful. Hope to see you on another one again soon. Cheers.